Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while now because I am there's something in me that basically I'm an overanalyzer, overthinker. I overthink about a lot, and like I spiral into things, and overthinking is the root cause of conspiracies. So like I wanted to create, make it create a safe space for overthinkers right here. Like, yeah, if you're an overthinker, you're in the right place. Make sure you like and subscribe to the video. Tell me if you want more episodes of this kind of content. So today, on my first episode, I want to commemorate the Gen Z protests last year because it's fallen right on the anniversary of the Gen Z protests. So because it will be on Wednesday, I think on Wednesday we'll be taking to the streets. Ruto one term, Ruto must go, protesting police brutality and commemorating the events of that day, remembering the souls that were lost on that day. So one thing that I have noticed that's been happening recently is police brutality has been there ever since I was a child. Like I remember, and the reason why it wasn't as highlighted back then, it's because back then the world wasn't as open as it is right now. Like CCTV cameras were not as good as they are right now. Phones with cameras and everything. Technology is accessible right now. That's why it's being brought to light a lot more right now than it was back then. So I wanted to spiral. I was spiraling into some ideas, and I was just thinking about it. And like one thing that I know right now is that the Gen Zs, we like this generation is not a tribal generation. First of all, is not a is not a yeah. Basically, the one thing that has divided Kenya for the longest time is tribalism, and that's a problem that my fathers and my forefathers battled with, right? Because of Kenya at that time in 1964, when Kenya gained independence, right? There was so much, there was so much resources, right? Like the enemy of my enemy is my friend mentality. Kenyans got together, fought off the British. When the British went away, so much resources were left, right? Some groups felt like they were hustled out of some resources, so they had to fight for their resources back. And one thing, this group had to stick together, this other group had to stick, the Kikuyus had to stick together, this had to stick together so that they can fight together to acquire the most resources out of each group. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. And with that, bonds were created. And they fought for their own resources, got their own resources, and the idea was that let's stick together so we can protect our resources, right? So the Kikuyus got together to protect their own. The Kalenjins did the same, Luyas did the same, Luos did the same, right? And that in turn came to become a problem because sometimes we need every other tribe to unite to fight a common goal. But then the stupid are led with the tribalism, in that a person will go to the ballot and vote for presidential candidate, not knowing his or her manifesto, not even researching the past about him or her, and just go vote because he is from my tribe. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Jobs being handed out. Of course, I am of a certain tribe, right? And if I have a position to give to someone, I will look within my circle first. We fend for our own first. But then it gets to a point where it becomes too much. In that, say I have a job, an accounting job, and my brother did accounting, right? And he did accounting, and he is the best accountant I know. Not not the best accountant out there, because the best accountant out there will demand a lot more. So if my brother is the best accountant I know, I'll give him a chance. Call it nepotism, I don't really care. Call it tribalism, I don't really care. If he underperforms, because I'm the boss, I'll have to be in a position where I differentiate between family and work. If my brother underperforms, I am supposed to fire him. And if he is really a professional, he will understand, okay, I was underperforming, so I got fired. Nobody takes firing easily. But then when you come down and reflect, actually yesterday night I was reading the Bible, and it tied to like this whole theory that I kinda have, where I think it was Mark chapter 25. It actually says that, I don't really remember the whole verse, but then it's like, when you have the knowledge and don't practice on the knowledge will be taken away from you. Basically that's it, right? And I want to make a whole nother video about that. Overthought about it and like came up with some really good premises. So like with that generation, you'd find mothers telling their kids like, don't bring me a Kikuyu in my house. I was listening to this certain podcast about this lady who was talking about her life, and talking about her life story, and in her life story she says that she was married to a lawyer, but then the mother refused for the guy to take the woman home because the first wife is supposed to be a lawyer. And that's a mentality that our fathers and forefathers and mothers and foremothers had. With my generation, I've gone to school with Kikuyus, lawyers, Luos, all tribes. I've gone to school with them. I've made friends with them. Muslims, I have made friends with everybody. So there's no need when a person tells me Kikuyus are bad people, yet I have friends who are Kikuyus, I'll be like, you're lying to me. I don't even understand what I'm saying. Because the segregation is gone. Nairobi is a land where all the tribes are welcomed. Every other tribe is in Nairobi. So if you grew up in Nairobi, there is no way that you will be tribal, because you were exposed to every other group at a very young age, right? I was chatting with someone on Instagram, and you will tell that she had that mentality, because I said hi and she said hi too, and I asked her, how are you doing? She replied in a certain language, and I told her, I don't really understand what you're saying, and she was like, oh, wewe si mtu wa this and this tribe. And I was like, okay. So I went and looked at her age, and I was like, oh yeah, now I see why you think that. And the person stopped talking to me totally, right? What does that tell you about that person? I'll let you figure it out from your own. Yeah, so like with this age, Ruto is not of our age. One thing that I know, Ruto is not of the Gen Z and millennial age, right? So his mode of thinking is the more. Do you know these old people who like the smallest things, you like add up a little volume on their phone and they're like, ah, what did he do? That's magic, you know. But then he just did a little something, and I feel like Ruto is like that, because just let's think about the decisions he made from last year. Letting Raila join into form like a broad-based government, he still thinks that Raila controls the opposition, which got him a really rude awakening, right? That's one thing, that he thought Raila still controls the opposition. He still thinks that if I control Luos, one insight into Kenya, honestly, Luos are the most rowdy group in Kenya. No offense, I love Luos totally. But then Luos are the rowdiest group in Kenya. And also, women say they're the most charming in Kenya. I don't know about that. But when it comes to politics, Luos are so much invested into politics. So, but the younger generation of Luos don't really care if Raila is in the broad-based government. What they care about is what's happening right now. Raila can't control the younger generation. He can only control the older generation who still think politics is tribal. I don't even understand what I'm saying. So he did that, didn't work. There was still protests. For example, and there's this. I was watching the news quite recently, and one thing that I noticed is that so many police men and women, especially highly ranked, are from a certain tribe. And I think I know why it is. I have been told this for so many times before. It's because when Moi was in power, he brought in he tried to empower so many of his people. So that's why so many policemen, so many people in the armed forces are of that tribe, right? Because when Moi was in power, and he was in power for the longest time, he brought in most of his people. And with police, one thing that I know, there's so much nepotism in police. Like, if my father is a policeman, one thing that he will do is he will do his best to make sure myself and the children that he has will get into the police, because that's a government job, guaranteed salary with benefits and all that. So I can't really blame them for like wanting the best for their kids, but then I can also blame them because you don't really know if that kid wanted to be a police officer. You don't really know if that kid had a talent, maybe wanted to sing, maybe wanted to play football, maybe wanted this, but then the father forced the police on him. And sometimes they are right. Sometimes parents know what's best, but not all the time. Even a parent is a human being at the end of the day. Even they mess up. I don't even understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying you lose respect for your parents. Respect them all the time. Listen to them. Take what they are saying into consideration till you get to a certain age. When you get to a certain age, you have the mindset to make your own decisions. Listen to them, take their advice into consideration, but at the end of the day, do what your heart desires. So that when you fail, you can say that, okay, I didn't fail because of my parents, I didn't fail because of this and this person. I failed because I went this way, it didn't work. Okay, mom, ulikuwa unasemaje? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. So the police thingy has been handed from generation to generation to generation to generation, and the trauma and police reforms need to like there's this journalist who was on, I think, KTN, and he was saying he was playing the psychology card, which is very true, because I have a cousin who was in the army. This guy left the army, came back, never been the same. Why? Because there is no platform in Kenya to deal with that trauma. There is no platform in Kenya, and Kenya is just right now trying to get into the idea of therapy and all that nonsense. Okay, it's not nonsense, but Kenya right now is just getting into the wave of mental health, understanding people are different and all that stuff. And it's really nice that we are headed that way. And yeah, I bet if that is introduced in the police system, then we will have a way better police force than we do right now, right? For example, I had this. Now let's get into the overthinking part, right? The death of Albert Ojwang happened inside a cell, right? The CCTV cameras were switched off, which is the thinking of an idiot, basically, or an old person. I'm sorry to say. the people inside the jail cell were like, okay, if we disable the CCTV cameras, they'll just come and we'll be like, CCTV iliharibika, it was glitchy and all that stuff. And they thought the people will just be like, okay, nobody saw, it's fine. But then they forgot the fact that they took the patient to Mbagathi, and Mbagathi had CCTV cameras. So they forgot that loophole. They forgot to switch off the CCTV cameras at Mbagathi. So they got caught. Old mentality again. Old mentality again. Langat, the DIG guy, he was supposed to be arrested. But then in his head, he's like, I still have the power. I can just say no. You know, the mentality of like, watanyamaza tu, they'll just shut up. But then the persistence kept on coming and coming and coming and coming. And he thought that, okay, if I resign, then they will come down. But then he resigned and nobody came down still. Right? So I think he himself, deep down, didn't have the intention to have Albert Ojwang killed. I think he just wanted Albert Ojwang a little bit roughed up, because in Kenya, one thing, I love Trevor Noah and Trevor Noah's comedy. In his comedy, he said that in the US, the police in the US are not corrupt, right? They might be racist, they might be all this stuff, but they are not as corrupt as the police in Africa. Like, for example, when a matatu passes the highway and the traffic officer is there, the matatu gives it, the tout in the matatu gives the police officer like a 50 shilling or like 100 shillings. That's corruption, but then it's normal, it's already been normalized. When you're arrested by the cops I've been arrested by cops for very tiny things like crossing the road with earphones on. Okay, I understand, maybe I'm endangering my life, but you've arrested me. I have a way to negotiate. I can negotiate before we get to the cell and be like, hey, I have 500. And the police officer will be like, okay, give him the 500. I did. Both of us have committed crimes, because I have engaged in corruption by bribing them, and the person who's accepted the bribe is also committing a crime, because you're not allowed to accept bribes, right? So I feel like that happened, and the police officer who the OCS, or was it the OCP, the guy who was arrested, I think was the OCS at Central Police, didn't really want to get blood on his hands. He's already getting paid. So he was like, okay, you know that feeling when you've already been paid, but then you haven't done the work that you're supposed to do, so you feel lazy to do the work because maybe you've already eaten the cash. I feel like that is what happened with him. So he was like, peleke to cell, tell the people in the cell to rough him up a little for like couple of bucks, then let him go. So the guys in the cell, being criminals, being normal people, not being cops who know, okay, a cop knows that if I shoot you somewhere, it will incapacitate you but not kill you. If I hit you somewhere, you'll be incapacitated but not killed. I don't even understand what I'm saying. So the guys in that cell didn't know that. So they beat Albert up, and not knowing where to touch, not knowing what to do, right? So that happened. And by the time they realized, oh my god, the guy is dead. So the events that followed was trying to cover up the evidence, but they failed to cover up the evidence as well because they are not as trained in IT and all that other stuff, right? Because I feel like if this murder happened in the DCI offices, the cover up will be so slick because those are very smart police officers. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So the protests happened, and another guy was shot. The guy fighting for his life in Kenyatta Hospital, apparently damaged left side of the brain. He's on life support. Personally, I never wish any harm on anyone, but I don't think he will come back. The family just should do themselves a favor and pull the plug, because once a person is on life support, it is so hard for them to come back to life, and that shit is so expensive. So the family, the hospital is just milking the whole thing. It's just milking it, because I feel like the guy should just have, the family should give the guy a mercy killing, because you are alive, all your limbs were working, everything in your body was fine, but then your left side of the brain was shot and you're paralyzed. If your brain is damaged even a little bit, you never come back to normal. When you resume your life, a part of him will be gone. So I feel like the family should just give the guy a mercy killing, a mercy death. Pull the plug, let the guy rest, instead of bringing him back to a life of misery. That's how I feel. I don't know about anyone else. I feel like the guy should just be given a mercy killing, put him out of his misery. Yeah, so the protests happened, and this is my overthinking brain, right? My overthinking brain took me to a place where I thought, what if this cop who shot that guy was told, like, kill someone else, so that these people who are protesting will forget about Albert Ojwang. When they forget about Albert Ojwang, they will forget about Lagat. Lagat will be scot-free. Even though he won't come back to work, he can just go silent and he will be scot-free, right? Given a financial package, goes to start his life somewhere else in like Cuba with his family and everything. And all the heat comes back to this cop who killed recency bias, right? What if that was the case? I don't know. You'll let me know. With the goons, I don't have an insight, but then I have a theory in how they work. I feel like the goons, when I know a couple, I've listened to thieves talk. I've listened to, I knew a couple of thieves back in my past, right? And a thief can steal your phone, go sell it for like 7,000, 8,000 a day, right? This thief has stolen like 3, 4 phones. He's made like 30,000 in one day. So you want to tell me these goons were given 2,000 to come protest in town without a wager? I don't really think so. I think this is how it works. They were given the 2,000 and they were promised that, okay, you will have the cops on your side. So you have the liberty to vandalize a shop or two, right? Vandalize, say, an electronics shop, like the laptop shop that was vandalized. Say the goons went in there and like took like a laptop or something, still from a couple of Kenyans who are protesting, right? And you have the 2,000 which you are given, and also you are in town enjoying police protection. You are in mobs, so that when you attack one person, it can be a 3v5. You still have the upper hand and you have the weapons. So even if you don't get the 2,000, you've gone to town, you've vandalized the shop, taken like one laptop, stolen from a civilian, like stolen like from 2 civilians. You've got 2 phones. When you go home, sell them, you go home with like your 30,000, 40,000 thingy. But then they came to town, it didn't go as they planned. Basically, that was me overthinking on that. And the other thing that I keep thinking about is that Kenya, I feel like Kenya has a deep state, right? And the deep state is responsible for a couple of things. Like, for example, tear gas from the police, right? The bullets that the police use, the guns that the police use, those are bought. They are not given to us, they are bought. People who sell guns, the tear gas canisters, people who sell weapons, basically, profit from chaos, right? If the world was such a safe place, nobody would buy guns. If there were no riots, nobody would buy tear gas. If the world was so safe, nobody would buy a weapon. So chaos has to be created so that the people in that market benefit, right? So I feel like that is something in the deep state, because I was talking about something, right? When the Gen Z invaded parliament, somebody was paid to renovate parliament. Somebody was paid to do all these things in parliament. So that person basically benefited from parliament being vandalized, right? Same way, I am a cleaner. The job I do, I clean offices. And if the offices didn't get dirty, then my clients wouldn't need my services. So like when I clean this office and I come see, there was a party in there, so which means tomorrow I'll come clean, that's some money I will make. So that's money I'm making from that. Same theory, tie that theory into the tear gas canisters that were used during protests. They have to be replaced. The bullets that were used during the protests, they have to be replaced. So who's benefiting from that? The person who get the tender to replace the things. I don't know any gun shop in Kenya. I don't know any weapon store in Kenya. So, to broker a deal for weapons weapons are really expensive. Basically, a bullet is really expensive. Even in the black market, like one bullet is like 1,000 shillings. One bullet is like 1,000 shillings in the black market. So you can imagine, when you get the tender, you'll supply the bullets in inflated prices so that you can get the profits. Who benefits from that? The higher class. The higher class that funds the government, that pulls the string. Because at the end of the day, even with the church, right, the person who gives the most sadaka has a certain priority, is given a certain respect when he talks. Same thing with the people in government. The people who fund the government most have a certain say in the government, right? They have to pull the strings in the direction in which they will benefit most. So, and I was talking to someone quite recently, and to tie it back into like the tribal thing, I feel like Ruto can play one move and he will get the trust of Kenyans back, especially the young people. They will be torn. If Ruto just came out and said that, okay, I am sorry, I wronged, I had plans, these were my plans, but then I got in office, found out there's a route that I have to follow, and following that route, my plans did come into fruition. But with the knowledge I have right now, I can promise this and this and this, and I am stepping down as a president. Basically send the country into a by-election, and other nominees come in, and we go to a by-election and vote for a new president. I don't really think it will be the landslide that Kenyans think. I don't really think it will, because I feel like the openness that Ruto had when he was campaigning, when he was deputy president, is what gave him the votes. If he assures the openness back, I feel like he has a chance, because me as a Gen Z, I don't really give a fuck who's president, as long as they are doing the right thing in office, as long as they are not stealing money. Even if you will steal, if you're given 10 million, you steal 1 million, 9 million goes to work. I don't really give a fuck, Anyway, those were just my thoughts. This is the first episode of my Overthinkers Insight, so let me know if you want more of this. you enjoy more of this content, make sure you like the video, subscribe to my channel. See you all in the streets on Wednesday. Have a lovely day.